And good evening and welcome back to Newsmax Prime. I'm Miranda Kahn in tonight for JD Hayworth. Great to have you with us. Of prime interest tonight, the fallout from Brexit. Global markets crash, world leader resigns, and our commander-in-chief changes his tune. Here's President Obama way back in April, and from earlier today. Notice the difference in tone.
I think it's fair to say that maybe some point down the line there might be a UK-U.S. trade agreement, but it's not going to happen anytime soon because our focus is in negotiating with a big bloc, the European Union, to get a trade agreement done. And UK is going to be in the back of the queue. I do think that yesterday's vote speaks to the ongoing changes and challenges that are raised by globalization. But while the UK's relationship with the EU will change, one thing that will not change is the special relationship that exists between our two nations. That will endure.
Notice a difference, maybe just a slight one? For this quick reminder, we want you to know that we will be taking your calls for the next hour. The number to call is right there on your screen. It's 1-877-NEWSMAX. Again, that number is 1-877-639-7629. Let us know your question or your comment or maybe just your reaction to what you just heard there from the president. Now, for much more on the story, we are pleased to be joined by our esteemed panel. First, Skyping in from California, the chairman and CEO of Patriarch Equity and DigitalMarketing.com, Eric Schiffer. Eric is also a contributor to BusinessWeek, and Skyping in tonight from Grand Rapids, Michigan, the director of international outreach for the Acton Institute, Todd Huizinga. Todd is also the former deputy chief of mission at the U.S. Embassy in Luxembourg and the former political counselor to U.S. mission to the European Union. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us here for Newsmax Prime. Todd, let's start with you. The vote happened today, but the actual implementation, it takes some time. So what happens next?
Well, it's going to take a while before the Great Britain invokes Article 50, probably. Article 50 is the clause in the EU treaties under which a country begins the process of leaving the EU. Cameron has said that he's not going to invoke that himself, that he will let his successor do that, and he will be probably resigning by October. So probably in October, Great Britain will invoke Article 50, and then there will be an approximately 2-year negotiation process that will start then. During that whole time, Britain will still be in the EU until the end of negotiations.
Eric, a lot of people have been making this comparison, but you just can't help but not do it, as you heard Donald Trump say, that a lot of the issues that led to this vote are some of the issues that we're dealing with here at home. Do you think in any way that that's maybe led to Donald Trump's popularity?
Look, there are a lot of similarities. You have a big immigration problem that exists in England. I mean, this is one of the largest drivers behind the vote. There's no question about it. And there also are implications with respect to jobs because you have immigrants who are coming in. So there are absolute parallels. The other concern, I think, to those, especially on the Never Trump side and those amongst Hillary Clinton's camp, is the fact that this was also a vote against what you would consider to be the elites, the political establishment, which again, Donald Trump is fighting against. So absolute parallels. I think it sends a meme that says this is possible. And so for Trump supporters, it's a good day. No question about it.
Now, a lot of people echoing that. Rick from Leavenworth, Washington, joins us now live on the phone to join the conversation. What's your question or comment for our panel?
Well, I'd like to say thanks for you guys at Newsmax because I think you're the best news source now. I used to like Fox, but it's kind of on the immigration deal. The last gentleman you had on there, Mr. Podolsky or whatever, he was saying about, something about that that person shouldn't, offend the Mexicans. But, what I've always understood is when you were born in America, even if your parents were immigrants from another country, that makes you an American citizen. And if whatever place your parents came from, say Poland, that made them Polish Americans. And America's an awesome place. It's got to be, because how many people do you see leaving it, and
Right.
all the people that are trying to get into it legally and illegally?
Right, and you bring
So
up a
that
lot
has-
of point. A lot of people talking about immigration, how it was tied to the EU vote, and also how we're dealing with that here in the United States. We now want to take a look at the financial impact of Brexit. There's only one way to describe the global response, and that's shock. The polls, the experts, even the betting sites, they all got it wrong. But it didn't take long for the world to react. The British pound dropped to its lowest level against the dollar in more than 30 years, sending shockwaves through the international markets.
Absolute disaster. I just can't believe it's happened.
The choice to Brexit, as it's been called, has also left question marks over the fate of London as Europe's top financial center. Already, European Central Bank says it may force euro trading out of London.
Will things go to Frankfurt or Paris, or will they actually move to New York?
There's also fears that major investment banks could move thousands of jobs.
It's costly for the economy, bad for the banks.
And possibly bad for the more than 2 million people who work in the country's financial industry.
Outrageous. I think it's terrible. I think worst day in British history for like 50 years.
And the ramifications of Brexit are already being felt here at home. U.S. stocks fell sharply this morning, and the Dow Jones closed down more than 600 points. Bank stocks were among the biggest losers today, and the move could affect 401k retirement funds here at home. We now want to welcome back Todd and Eric. Todd, I want to get your reaction to what you just heard and saw.
Well, unfortunately, something happened with the sound. I didn't just hear it. Could you summarize it real quick?
Yeah, we were just talking about, and I apologize for that. It was just basically getting the response from people, especially in Britain. There's a lot of concerns on how this is going to affect specifically the financial market, not only there in London, but also here in like New York and the United States as a whole.
Yeah, it's already affected the financial markets, and that was kind of expected, that there would be a drop and that they would be shocked. But I think that we need to keep calm here and think about the long term. And in fact, not even really the long term, the medium term. I believe that in the medium term, Britain is going to be better off economically, and the world will be better off economically, because Great Britain is a very free market oriented economy. And without the burden of EU regulations, I think Britain is going to do better with time.
Yeah,
and that's going to mean more jobs for us and a better economy for us as well.
And there are a lot of people that share your view, Todd. Adele, who we spoke with earlier, also thought that it was going to be kind of short term, but in the long run, that UK was going to be better off, and Donald Trump has definitely said that. Eric, do you agree?
No, I don't agree, and I think that it suggests quite a different story, in my opinion, because what you have is you've got right now the EU as a hub. It's a hub for a lot of international corporations as a branch off to being able to trade throughout the entire EU. There's a tremendous amount also of companies that have gone into the UK because of the labor factor. You have so many people that can migrate through to the UK and be able to provide labor at a much cheaper rate. Those things are going to go away. And as they go away, corporations are going to be rethinking the types of investments that they want to make into the economy. And in doing that, you're going to have economic challenges. And I believe there's a probability, certainly within the near term, near to midterm, of a recession. If that occurs, then you could have ripple effects throughout all of Europe. And certainly, if the EU is in trouble economically, it will impact the United States. So this was a big choice. It has a lot of negative implications. You can't have a major power like Britain economically just stop trading like they're really essentially doing without there being some very strange effects.
So there you heard opposite sides of the spectrum. You have Todd saying that he thinks that this is going to help the UK in the long run. And there you just heard Eric say that he thinks that this could have horrible ramifications for not just the UK, but the rest of the world. Faye from Topeka, Kansas joins us live here on Newsmax Prime. Faye, what do you think about what our panel had to say? Who are you siding with?
Well, Miranda, how are you today? Another Kansan.
Yes, I am. Proud Kansan. Thanks for joining us.
There you go.
Used to work in Topeka, by the way. Great city.
Ah, all right. Personally, I think that the Brits should dub today as their Independence Day. I have no clue as to why Wall Street should drop 600 points. I think it should have gone up. All we have to do is look at our history to know what the Brits are capable of.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, Todd. Hearing what Faye had to say, she's, wondering why the stock market reacted the way it did. We saw gold prices go up, but a lot of the financial sector is tied up. I mean, there's a hub there in London, and we are tied to it. Why such a dip? Can you explain that further?
Did you ask me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, first of all, Faye said it very well. Hats off to Faye. If we look at history, we shouldn't underestimate what the British are capable of. They're a very capable people. They're a free people. And they just had the courage against all of the fear-mongering of the establishment to take back self-government in Britain. And we should be happy and proud to be allies of Great Britain. I think, again, we need to think in the long run. And first of all, there is no way that Great Britain is going to stop trading with the EU. It's not going to stop trading with the EU. It's still going to be friends with the countries of the other countries of Europe.
Eric, we have about 15 more seconds left. I want to give the last word to you.
Well, look, the trade, if you have regulation because you no longer have trade deals, you're going to slow trade down significantly. So to say that we're going to have the same level of trade, not a chance. And I think that, frankly, it doesn't, I guess the concept of Britain being a great country, no question about the potential of the people, but the implications of this move.
We'll have to see what
really
happens. Gentlemen, we're out of time. Thank you both for joining us. We'll be right back after this.